السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. Indeed, all thanks and praise are to Allah. We praise and thank Him, and we seek His help and His forgiveness. Whomsoever Allah guides, we seek refuge with Allah from the evil of our own souls and from our bad deeds. Whomsoever Allah guides will never be led astray, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray cannot be guided. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, the One, having no partner, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and messenger. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah and fear Him as He should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. O mankind, fear your Lord who created you from a single person, and from him created his spouse, and from them both created many men and women. And fear Allah through whom you demand your mutual rights, and do not cut the relations of kinship. Surely Allah is ever and all watcher over you. O you who believe, keep your duty to Allah and fear Him, and always speak the truth. He will direct you to righteous deeds and forgive for you your sins, and whosoever obeys Allah and His Messenger has indeed achieved a great achievement. Dear brothers and sisters, today's topic of the khutbah, inshallah, is solving Islamophobia. But before I delve into the topic, I would like to discuss the current events that are going on around us as it ties into today's khutbah. If you've been watching the news the last few weeks, you may have noticed that there are massive riots throughout the United Kingdom right now. Many mosques, well, not many, but several mosques have been burned. Muslim businesses and homes have been vandalized. Muslim people have been attacked physically. And what started all these attacks that have been ongoing till now? On July 29th, 3 young girls were fatally stabbed and a few more were wounded. Within hours of the attack, news already circulated on social media that the attacker was a young Muslim asylum seeker who just arrived in Britain. So because that he was a migrant Muslim, everybody started these mass riots to attack Muslims. But it was a lie. It was not true. The Associated Press released an article stating that the actual attacker was a Christian boy named Axel Rudakabana, who was born in the United Kingdom to parents who moved from Rwanda. So he was not a migrant, he was born in the UK, he was not a Muslim, he was a Christian. But even with the release of the truth, it didn't stop the protests that are still happening till now. They're attacking migrants and Muslims, even though it was based on a lie. And this is a result of a coordinated misinformation effort. Just yesterday, we saw an article that appeared in the Daily Mail, which is a UK-based magazine. And the headline was "Random Knifing." And above the headline was a photo of a young Muslim boy from South Asia. His name is Abdullah. So there's no context of why they put his picture. This Muslim boy actually stopped the attacker. This man was attacking people and he had blood on his shirt. This young Muslim man saw him and took the knife away from him. He was the hero. But they released the headline with another knifing attack with a picture of a Muslim. And this was deliberate, because most people who don't click on the article are going to think that the Muslim was the attacker. And this, of course, is done on purpose. In 2022, just 2 years ago, Time magazine ran an article titled, "US Charities Funneled More Than $105 Million to Anti-Muslim Groups." In the article, it shows a 2019 report by CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which shows that anti-Muslim special interest groups raised more than $1.5 billion between 2014 and 2016. Yasmin Tayeb, a human rights attorney, stated in the article, "There absolutely is this sophisticated, orchestrated network of activists, politicians, and media personalities that are working in coordination as this echo chamber to push out anti-Muslim rhetoric and policy." On July 17th of this year, the Middle East Monitor reported that the Israeli ministry is funding a multi-million-dollar disinformation campaign deliberately spreading Islamophobia. As a community, we need to realize, with this much money, the billions of dollars being poured in to spread Islamophobia, their end game is not just to have a few mosques on fire or to vandalize some Muslim businesses. Their aim is much bigger. We have to realize what their aim is, and that is to steal more land and resources from Muslims. If we look at the 2 wars in Iraq and Afghanistan in the early 2000s, they were fueled by an attack that allegedly occurred by Saudi Arabia. But the United States and its allies then went to attack Iraq and Afghanistan. That had nothing to do with 9/11. Why? Why did the US attack these 2 countries? Because in the year 2002, a man by the name of Benjamin Netanyahu came to address Congress and to urge and push the United States to attack Iraq so that they can create the Iraq-Haifa pipeline. And you could look this up. The Iraq-Haifa pipeline gave Israel direct and immediate access to the oil that was in Iraq. CNN reported that $150 billion of oil has been stolen from Iraq since the US-led invasion. And that does not include all the gold that was stolen from Iraq as well. And some reports say the amount of gold that was stolen from Iraq reached in the trillions of dollars. And now that reports have emerged that Gaza has natural gas and oil valued at $500 billion off the coast, it is no wonder why there is this such push for spreading Islamophobia and painting the Gazans as terrorists to justify stealing their land. In general, people don't want to murder babies and women and children, but if you sell them a lie and tell them that they are a threat to our safety, they would agree to the G word. Those propagating Islamophobia know that their claims are untrue. So when you see Congress members addressing Congress and saying that the student protesters are pro-Hamas, or the student protesters are being funded by Iran, they know that it's a lie. They know it's not true, but they are part of this Islamophobia campaign. Which brings us into today's topic. If we know that Islamophobia is a problem, what is the solution? By profession, I'm a solutions engineer, and we believe that every problem has a solution. So if Islamophobia is a major problem, there must be a solution for it. And before I answer the question of what is the solution, I would like to share an anecdote. In June of this year, the state of Louisiana passed a law stating that it is a requirement for all public schools to display the Ten Commandments in their classrooms. And of course, the liberals had an uproar about this because this is a violation of the church, separation of church and state. So I was watching on the news, a journalist was going to different people to ask him what was their opinion of Louisiana passing this law mandating that public schools have to display the Ten Commandments. So he went to a Trump rally, and the first person he went up to, a young man in his 30s, wearing a red hat that said, "Make America Great Again," a t-shirt that said, "Trump is my president, Jesus is my Lord." And he asked him, what are your thoughts about this recent legislation stating that it's mandated? And he didn't have an issue, unsurprisingly, of course, he was okay with it. But what was surprising was his response to the next question. The next question, he said, the journalist asking this man, but what if a Muslim wanted to display information about a different God in a public school? What then? Would you object? Okay, so let's go back. Visualize this person in your head. Red MAGA hat, Jesus t-shirt at a Trump rally, wearing sunglasses, young white man. His response was, but they don't believe in a different God. Muslims believe in the same God. And then he said, the reporter said, but Muslims don't believe in Jesus. He said, Muslims do believe in Jesus. They believe he was a prophet. They don't believe he was a son of God, but they do believe in Jesus. And the reporter was flabbergasted. I was surprised as well. How did this man know so much about Islam when they don't teach this stuff in school or convey this information in the media? It was through the efforts of da'wah from individuals who were spreading da'wah, and that is how he got this information. So to answer the question, how do we solve Islamophobia? The answer is through da'wah, because truth extinguishes falsehood like water extinguishes a flame. Even if you say, but now schools are starting to teach more about Islam. True, but that is through the efforts of organizations like CARE and the Islamic Shura Council. It's through the da'wah efforts that schools are becoming more susceptible to teaching about the true Islam. So that raises two questions. One, what is da'wah? And two, what are our responsibilities individually and collectively in terms of da'wah? So to answer the first question, linguistically, da'wah means invitation. It comes from the Arabic verb yad'u, which means to invite. But in an Islamic context, it is to invite to the path of Allah. As Allah mentions in Surah An-Nahl in Ayah 125, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, ادعوا إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. Invite to the path of your Lord with wisdom and beautiful speech. And the path of Allah, of course, is Islam. Now, who is responsible for doing da'wah? If you recall, a few weeks ago, Sheikh Yasser was up here giving a khutbah, and he was discussing the difference between Fard Kifaya and Fard Ayn. And he gave the example of Salatul Janazah, and he said that it was a Fard Kifaya because as long as enough members of the community attend the Janazah, that suffices. The rest of the community is off the hook. And as well, he mentioned the ayah, وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. And let there be a community from among you who call to goodness and command to what is fair and forbid what is deplorable. This ayah is also Fard Kifaya because Allah is calling upon a certain group of people from among the ummah to take on this responsibility. But what about da'wah? This is an obligation on every sane adults, male and female, because Allah is putting it in the command form. Id'u ila sabili rabbik. This is Allah commanding all of us to invite people to Islam. Now you might be saying, how could I do da'wah when I'm not a hafiz, I'm not an alim? But Allah knows that each of us have our own level of iman and our own level of knowledge. Abdullah ibn Amr radiallahu anhuma reported that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ballighu anni walau ayah." Convey from me even a single verse. So you don't have to be a hafiz, you don't have to be an alim to do da'wah. And if somebody asks you a question that you cannot answer, simply say, "I do not know," and direct them to somebody who could answer the question. Because "I don't know" is always a better answer than giving somebody wrong information. In the second khutbah, inshallah, I will delve more into specifics of what we can do regarding da'wah and how I believe we can extinguish Islamophobia. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. So as I mentioned in the first khutbah, da'wah eradicates Islamophobia. But how can we perform da'wah? What methodology can we use? If we use the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would convey the message of Islam using every method of communication available at the time. He would convey the message orally, through talking with people, through khutab, through interactions, so using voice, through written letters that he would send to different dignitaries, ambassadors, different tribes. He even sent the famous letter to Heraclius, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire. And the most important method that he used was through his character and his actions. So da'wah doesn't have to be debating with non-Muslims or sitting at a da'wah table. And I do not want to discount those methods because they are effective. But even by being a good representative of Islam, you will have a profound impact on other people. And so I'd like to end the khutbah with this story. Oprah Winfrey interviewed the famous author Elizabeth Gilbert. You may not know her name, but you've probably heard of her book. She wrote a book called Eat, Pray, Love. And this was adapted into a movie starring Julia Roberts. So this was a famous author. She even wrote for the New York Times, and she became a famous author. So Oprah Winfrey was interviewing this woman, and she went through a difficult period of her life after her divorce. She had depression, but then she turned her life around. So Oprah is interviewing this woman, and you guys could watch this video on YouTube. Just search Oprah Elizabeth Gilbert interview. And Oprah said, "So describe a moment when you experienced true and pure grace and you knew it." So in a Christian context, when they say grace, they're talking about rahmah, the mercy of God, because grace has several different meanings, like graceful. But when the Christian says grace, they're talking about Allah's mercy. So she told the story, Elizabeth Gilbert, when she was 31 years old and staying in Indonesia, and I'm going to read her response near verbatim because it ties into the khutbah. So Oprah Winfrey asked her, "Tell us a moment in your life where you experienced God's mercy." And she said, "I was in a terrible depression. I took myself to a tiny little island in Indonesia and decided I needed to spend 10 days in silence to try to have a truth and reconciliation hearing with myself because I was so full of shame and pain. And I didn't know anybody there, of course, and that she got terribly, terribly sick with food poisoning." And then she continues, "And my plan was to walk around the island every day. It was a small island, and there was this one woman, this Muslim woman. I mean, when I say this island was poor, I mean that these people fished that day. What they fished that day is what they ate for dinner that night. This one woman, when she saw me walking, would put her hand on her chest and smile at me, and I would do the same to her. One day, I fell very ill, and I got really sick, and I was stuck in my cabin dehydrated, terrified, and far away from anyone who knew me. And when the woman didn't see me on my daily walk, she came and knocked on my door and saw the condition that I was in and went like this, And then she came back 1 hour later with fresh food and water for me. And I just started crying in her arms, and she held me in her arms like I was her child and just rocked me and took care of me. And she is my face of Islam. Whatever conversations in the world is happening about Islam, she is my face of Islam. That woman went across an island, knocked on every door in this little row of cabins till she found the person who she knew was suffering and came and took care of me. That was the most grace I have received in my entire life. This is truly God working through somebody's kindness. In case you missed it, it might have been subtle, but what she said was, it doesn't matter what lies people tell about Islam, that one woman is my face of Islam. I perceive Islam by her actions, not what they say in the media. So Elizabeth Gilbert will forever hold a positive view of Islam, despite all the smears from the media and despite all this Islamophobia campaign, because of the experience of one Muslim woman who exhibited Islamic character. Imagine what kind of impact we can have as a community, or even as a Muslim ummah of 2 billion people, if we all reflected true Islamic character. May we all be shining examples of Muslims for others to see. May we each be the reason that a non-Muslim has a positive view of Islam. Oh Allah, we ask that we Muslims in America put an end to Islamophobia through our good examples. Ya Allah, just as Muslims in Bangladesh were successful, please grant success and victory to the Muslims in Palestine and the rest of the world. Allahumma aghfir al-Muslimin wal-Muslimat wal-Mu'minin wal-Mu'minat al-Ahya'i minhum wal-Amwat innaka sami'un qareebun mujibu da'wat. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
حقا دائما لا إله إلا الله. استووا واستغفروا. Straighten your lines, stand shoulder to shoulder. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى. سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر. فذكر إنما أنت مذكر. من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت ولا السماء كيف رفعت ولا الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Our thanks to Brother Hussein Sakar for our khutbah today. A few quick announcements. First of all, a reminder for parking. I think we did a much better job this time, but please be mindful of the markings to make sure that we park in the correct places. We cannot have under any conditions double parking where we're blocking any cars from exiting. You know, astaghfirullah, if there's an emergency and we need to evacuate, then that's going to pose many challenges. We have to allow spaces for emergency vehicles if that's the case. So please be mindful and respectful. If the lot is full and the adjacent lot, please find space on Blair or elsewhere on Ellis to park, inshallah. We have a few great activities coming up here at the masjid, so bear with me for 1 second. So on Sunday, this Sunday, August 18th, here at the masjid, we're doing a picnic at the center. And this is from 3 o'clock until Maghrib. So please bring your family. We're going to have food, burgers will be grilling. There's going to be fun activities for the family at all ages. So this Sunday here, and you see the turf that we have nicely laid out in the front, from 3 o'clock until till Maghrib time this Sunday at the masjid. Next weekend, next Friday, we're going to have a dawah theme. One of the themes today from our khutbah was about the importance of dawah. And we're going to have a guest speaker from the Why Islam area of activity with ICNA. National Coordinator of Why Islam, Imam Jawad Ahmed, speak to us Friday evening from 6 to 8:30 here at the masjid about dawah. And there's going to be a presentation. So all of you who are interested in dawah and how, to the extent of your ability, can help to be that face of Islam that Brother Sucker was talking about, please come. And we'll have dinner will be provided. So that's this Friday, a week from today, August 23rd, from 6 to 8:30. And please do attend. And then finally, those are the key messages. And please continue to support this masjid generously. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. One other quick announcement, and I apologize, I didn't mention this. This Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon is going to be a food drive to give food to a local community, to those in need. So if you're interested, please come and support. Jazakallah khair.
Hey, Islam.